Hello, poetry lovers. The video tonight shows the creation of a new free verse poem I'm calling Echo. Stick around to the end of the video to see the complete first draft, but this one comes with a trigger warning. The video and poem discuss gun violence. Poetry is one of the most powerful ways to deal with hard situations because we can use poetry to say things that are otherwise difficult or impossible to say. And that's where this poem came from. 1 month ago, I took my 2 young children to play at a park one sunny Friday afternoon. While we were there, a person chose to unalive themselves just a short distance away between us and our parked car and used a gun for that purpose. Multiple shots were fired. If you are a parent, or even just if you have children you care about, you can probably imagine the terror that comes with hearing multiple gunshots at a playground. We didn't know anything in that moment except that anything was possible. My friends, it is not unthinkable that a person would choose to open fire at a small park. When first responders arrived, we could tell we were safe because they were not rushing to secure the area. A very kind officer walked me and my children to our car and saw us safely away. I spent that afternoon helping my children process what had happened and reassuring them in blithely confident tones that we were not in any danger and that we would go to the park again soon. But the next day, I sat down to write this poem. I was angry and sad and still scared. I wanted to put the clearest words possible on this experience. So I started writing by grounding the poem in the moment. I used long lines to give a sense of the poem as audible speech, not fragmented by line breaks, but rushing ahead, the way I spoke to the officer who interviewed me at the scene. I used caesura several times in the first stanza to create natural pauses and variation in the sentence length. But as I switched to the second stanza, I made a drastic change to form. I used extremely brief lines, all ends stopped, as I stepped away from the event and moved into making a broader commentary. I chose to use these 2 contrasting forms throughout the poem, both as a practical way to alert the reader that something different is happening, and as an expression of the overwhelm in some portions, balanced against the tension and restraint in the others. I continued this pattern in the 3rd and 4th stanzas, turning in the 4th stanza to a description of my normal first-day routine as a college professor. I wanted here to lay out in the most blunt terms possible the kind of planning for a violence response that I had to do as an educator, and that so many brave teachers and professors do every day. I moved through the completion of the event in the 5th stanza and then finished with the final stanza. Here I spoke directly to the reader, attempting for the first time to draw the reader into the situation of the poem, which was my entire goal. I was using this poem to articulate the indirect effects of living in a society that experienced so much of this kind of violence, and I wanted to make it clear to the reader that this event is not just a story from my life, it's evidence of how our culture works. After I finished the draft, I returned to the 4th stanza. I had made the examples here specifically focused on the classroom, and while that's an accurate portrayal of my own teaching experience, I wanted to broaden the illustrations to include more than just a teacher situation, since the point of this poem is that this kind of event has larger impacts in our society. So I did some work to reimagine and rephrase several of these lines before wrapping up. I am honestly a little scared to share this poem. My concern is mostly something that's articulated in the 1st stanza, that I'll be told I'm taking this too seriously and that I need to calm down. I'm making a conscious choice not to do that. Because the reality is that even though this particular act of violence was not directed at me or my kids, children are destroyed by this kind of violence every day in our country. The threat I experienced is not limited to my situation. It's everywhere, all the time. The goal of this poem is not to make this event sound more serious than it was, but to point out that this experience can and does belong to everyone who cares about someone else, who wants their loved ones to be safe wherever they go, at school, or at work, or at home, or on the playground. Here's the first draft of Echo, written in about 40 minutes on April 6th, 2024. Echo. When I heard the first shot, my body responded by cinching muscle and tendon all down my spine. I searched for the source. I had never heard real-life gunfire, and I have many dozens of times been told to calm down. Don't overreact. I sat still on the picnic bench and counted my children, one on the monkey bars, one on the swing. In maybe 30 seconds, I heard the second shot. First, a list. Parade, nightclub, movie, mall, church, college, high school, grade school, home, ad, playground. I stood quickly, my body speaking calm. I collected both my children in the slide's shadow, searching the trees by the car park for the sound's source, as another mom came to my side, said, "That's a gunshot." 2 women, 4 children, 1 second. I scanned the broad swath of grass down to the pond for a shelter, searched for homes with open doors across a quiet road, estimated how many tiny people could take cover in the bushes to the north. Wondered how far I could hurl gravel, and with what aim. Wondered how much cover my own body could give. A checklist for new places. Count the windows, find the exits, try the lock, plan the script, brainstorm weapons, meet their eyes, commit your body to their lives. I prayed for sirens and breathed again when I saw the cop scream to a stop by our parked car. I sent my children to the bench, had them face away from the fireworks of flashing lights as first responders flooded the street. We waited. I mastered the urge to clutch them both close to my frantic heart. When finally we walked the long way to our car, I warned my son to look straight ahead, and one armed escort heard and swerved his body between my child and the huddled, still form, a white-sheeted shape surrounded by dandelions. He gave each of my kids a sticker. How many places have you fled? Where have you thought gunfire will not follow here? Friend, look around. Seek where the sound of shots echoes. Your children will feel it too. If not the bullets, the trauma. If not the trauma, the fear. Thanks for watching this episode of Ars Poetica. If you enjoyed watching poetry happen, please like and subscribe. Then go make some art.